Our last story for this week is a research story on how phishers are abusing the direct send feature in Microsoft 365 to bypass a number of security measures and appear as internal users, although they have not had to compromise an account or pass authentication. The way that this is working, direct send, is a feature that allows some devices like printers or scanners or applications to send internal emails without having an authenticated account of their own. And attackers are exploiting that pathway. Oftentimes, there will be warnings about opening external attachments or sharing to an external address, as well as some behind-the-scenes tools like DKIM or DMARC that are going to assess internal and external content differently. Obviously, bypassing all of those is going to pose an issue for folks. And the question that I put here is, it's good that we've added some more prompts and alerts to let folks be aware of the additional risk of external senders. In general, external senders are going to generally be a higher source of risk than internal senders alone. But have we kind of introduced a new problem on the flip side that by emphasizing the risk from external senders, are we training people to under-assess or under-evaluate the risk from an internal address?
That's always been one of my concerns about people that put banners on emails for like external emails. Is you put the banner on, it says external sender. If they're pretending to be an internal person, it might be a problem. But that opens up the whole world of, I trust it because the banner is not there. And you've got to, in 2025, you've got to be, you got to do better than that, because there's all sorts of ways to make an email look like it's internal when it actually is and is malicious, or isn't internal, but gets around your stuff.
Yeah, this should be like just one of those components you should look at. In my experience, like, I'm not saying don't implement banners. They do help, and it's like the only problem is they just become noise to a lot of people. It's like you're seeing something. It's like having that burn in. You just you don't see the error message anymore. You don't see the banner all the time, even when you're looking or just staring directly at you. Or some of these email chains, if you're on a really long chain, you scroll, and then before you know it, the banner's gone. You can't see what's trying to tell you one thing or the other. So definitely implement them, but don't expect them to be a cure-all. They're just one of those extra layers of the security onion. This is a very, very thin layer, but it is a layer nonetheless, and it can help inform people. And at least if you have the banner, you can start to have that conversation of we have the banner, but also people can maybe get around that. So use the banner, but also think about times when people are just asking for things they shouldn't be asking for. I made a note here that on my phone, I get so many spam calls nowadays, and I think everybody else is the same, that it's I don't think I answer a single call from people I even know on my phone. I let it go to voicemail, and then I'll call them back or something. But maybe that's what we should start thinking about for email. It's start screening your emails. If you weren't expecting it, or if it's something weird, just let it go. If it's really that important, maybe use some other way of contacting that person to verify that's what they're asking for. You call them on the phone, catch them in a meeting or in the hallway somewhere, do a quick Slack message, just to kind of use another source just to make sure that what they're asking for, if it's unusual and throwing off red flags, that they are actually asking for. And you can also put in processes around these kind of events. I know a company who got by one of these phishing emails, and they turned that into a learning process or learning moment to basically make a process around handling big transactions. If you have to handle a transaction over X amount of money, you need to follow this step. It needs to be approved by this person. You need to physically talk to this person. You need to follow. You need to call them on the phone. There's all sorts of different ways you can set up a process to help back up these things, so that even if customers do get tricked, because AI is getting so good nowadays. There's so many phishing emails that are getting great. It's not a matter of if somebody's going to get tricked by one of these, it's just when. So it's start to think about, if someone is tricked, what process processes can you put in place to like stop that transaction or stop whatever thing is happening from happening?
I used to do training on that, like talking about how to avoid, CEO scams, that kind of stuff, and we'd say, like, we tell our customers, tell your employees that if the CEO says, I'm telling you to break the process because it's an emergency, and if you don't do it, you're fired, say, fine, I'm fired. Because you need to give your employees the assurance that if someone tells you to break the process, it's not a legitimate request.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to wear you down. They're going to get mean, and they're going to win because they know that the people want to keep their job.
Yeah.
And I think, a couple of things out of this, one, don't call Jake. He will not pick up. That's definitely a learning from this conversation. But outside of that, it's you got to be vigilant. Whether it's checking the domain that's sending you something sketchy. I mean, even spoofing Google Drive is like really, really effective. And there are a lot of really interesting and novel ways to do that. And there's just a lot of stuff hidden inside of anything that you might put on your computer. And so, banners and all these tools that, companies are using to try and, make it safer. Email is dangerous in the same way. There's a reason that MFAs, moved away from phone numbers, because you can spoof a phone number just in the same way you can, essentially spoof an email address. I think, we're seeing social engineering just become more and more prevalent. I know there's an article we're not discussing today that was about kind of the reduction in ransomware as a key trend. And I think a lot of that comes to social engineering. Has never been easier. It's never been easier to have high quality, content at scale, because that's what you put an AI and an agent and some basics out there, and they'll go run. And so just that makes it much harder for the defenders, and puts more onus on humans, on the individuals who are, getting this stuff and at risk.